Hello, my friends. To be informed about the newly arriving videos, you can subscribe to my channel and support me by liking my videos. Enjoy listening. Early in the morning, I had to get ready for a job interview. I got out of bed tired and exhausted, and headed to the kitchen. I washed my face in the sink, and then looked out of the kitchen window. Despite the early hour, the temperature was high. I opened the fridge door, looked inside for a few seconds, then closed it again. I took a bite from the half pizza left on the table from the night before, and immediately had to spit it out. It tasted extremely bad. There was nothing to eat in the house. I went to my room, chose the cleanest pair of pants from among the scattered laundry, and paired it with a shirt. I dressed quickly, sprayed a good amount of perfume since I didn't feel like showering. I had to leave home before it got too late. I didn't want to be late for the job interview and lose the opportunity, especially since I was running out of money. This job was urgently needed. I immediately left home and went to the job interview, but when I arrived, I realized that it was the 8th of the month. I should have been there for the interview yesterday. How could I make such a mistake? I scolded myself. I had become like my irresponsible friends, wandering and hanging out. I had begged my family for months, saying I wanted to live alone in my own house, but nothing turned out as I had imagined. Anyway, that opportunity had slipped away. On my way home, I realized I was hungry. With the little money I had left in my pocket, I bought myself a toast. I sat at a table in the cafe's garden and had my breakfast and lunch together. I couldn't ask for money from my father. Even if I asked, he wouldn't give it. After finishing my meal, I headed home. I didn't have money to go anywhere, and no other place to go apart from my home. I went home, took a cold shower, and sat on the couch. I fell asleep watching TV until the evening. When I woke up, the sky was almost dark. The only time I could feel a bit relaxed was when I was asleep. When I woke up, all the troubles were coming to mind and I was getting headaches. While I was looking at the empty wall and thinking about these things, my phone rang. It was one of my friends who couldn't even do good for himself. I was undecided about whether to answer the phone or not, but he insisted. As soon as I answered the phone, he said, "Get ready, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to have the time of our lives tonight," and hung up before I could respond. Actually, I needed to blow off steam too. I dressed up and got ready, and that night was really good. But he was insistent about me answering the phone. As soon as I answered it, he said, "Get ready, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to have the time of our lives tonight," and hung up before I could even reply. Actually, I needed to unwind too. I got dressed and prepared myself. That night really turned out to be good. My friend was dropping me home in his car when I felt really uncomfortable on the way. I asked him to stop and said that I wanted to walk the rest of the way. I had hardly taken a few steps after getting out of the car when I couldn't help but throw up everything I had eaten and drunk. I had apparently overdone it. I pulled myself together and continued on my way. A bit farther, a man was sitting on a bench trying to open a book in his hand. This man, who looked quite angry, was drunk. He turned the first pages of the book here and there, swearing heavily before throwing the book and then getting up and leaving. The man looked a bit strange. So, I waited for him to move away a bit. I didn't want to get into trouble at this hour in this state. After the man moved away, I continued on my way. The book had fallen right in the middle of the road. As I passed by, it caught my attention. At first, I nudged it gently with the tip of my foot. I wanted to see what was inside. After I touched the book, it literally glowed. Overcome by curiosity, I picked up the book. I quickly brought it home, hoping no one would see. I don't know why, but there was an excitement inside me about this book, as if gold would come out of it. "It's just a book, what's there to be excited about?" I tried to calm myself, but in vain. As soon as I came home, I sat on the couch, pulled the small coffee table to one side, and tried to open the book but couldn't. I checked to see if there was some secret lock or something. After struggling a bit and not being able to open it, I turned on the TV and started watching. I fell asleep in front of the TV. I woke up with a start. I don't think I slept much because the program on TV hadn't finished yet. This program always ends at 11:30. Friends, when I looked at the clock, it was 12. As I wanted to turn off the TV and go to my room, I saw that the cover of the book that was in front was open. Excited, I wanted to examine it. On the first page it said, "Set the rules in your life, don't hesitate to express what you want. Life is yours. The rule is yours." On the next page, there was a question asking, "How do you feel today?" I stood up to write an answer there, took the black pen standing next to the TV and wrote, "I am tired." It seemed to be some kind of diary. On the next page, it asked me to write a wish I wanted to come true. It was hope. I had to write it directly on this page. I leaned back and thought about what I wanted. For a moment, I involuntarily smiled, saying to myself, "Now our business has come down to these blank papers." As I wanted to write a random wish, my eye caught the mess around and, feeling somewhat silly, I found myself writing, "Why do I want my house to be spotlessly clean when I wake up?" and closed it. I went to my room and slept. I woke up with the sun shining into my eyes. It was almost noon. I didn't want to get out of bed at all. My father had paid the house rent for a year recently. She insisted I pick up the phone. As soon as I answered, she said, "Get ready, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to have the time of our lives tonight," and hung up before I could reply. I really needed to blow off some steam anyway. I dressed up and got ready. That night truly was wonderful. As my friend was driving me home, I suddenly felt very unwell. I asked her to stop the car and said I wanted to walk the rest of the way home. I stepped out of the car and had only walked a few steps when I couldn't hold it in any more and threw up everything I had consumed. I had clearly overdone it. After regaining my composure, I continued walking and noticed a man trying to open a book while sitting on a bench a little way ahead. The man seemed quite angry and drunk, flipping the book here and there while swearing heavily before throwing the book away and walking off. He looked a bit strange, so I waited for him to move away. I didn't want any trouble at this hour in this state. After he was gone, I continued on my path. The book had fallen right in the middle of the road. As I passed by, it caught my attention. At first, I nudged it slightly with my foot to see what was inside. The moment I touched the book, it practically glowed. My curiosity got the better of me, and I picked up the book, quickly heading home so no one would see me. I don't know why, but I felt the kind of excitement about this book as if there was gold inside. It's just a book, what's there to be excited about? I tried to calm myself down, but to no avail. As soon as I got home, I sat on the couch, pulled the small table towards me, and tried to open the book, but couldn't. I checked to see if there was some kind of secret lock, but, after struggling for a while and not being able to open it, I turned on the TV and started watching. I must have fallen asleep in front of the TV because I woke up with a start. I don't think I slept much because the program on TV hadn't finished yet. This program always ends at 11:30, and when I checked the time, it was 12 o'clock. As I was about to turn off the TV and head to my room, I noticed that the cover of that book was open. Excited, I approached it to explore, and on the first page it read, "Set your own rules in life. Don't hesitate to express your desires. Life is yours, the rule is yours." On the next page, there was a question asking how I felt today. I stood up to get the black pen that was near the TV to write, "I am tired," as a response. It seemed like some sort of diary. On the following page, it asked me to write a wish I wanted to come true. Hopelessly, I leaned back and thought about what I wanted. I involuntarily smiled for a moment, thinking, so now we're down to wishing upon these blank pages. As I was about to write a random wish, my eyes caught the mess around, and I idiotically wished, Why can't I wake up to a spotlessly clean house? And closed the book. I went to my room and fell asleep. The next morning, I was awakened by the sunlight piercing into my room. It was almost noon. I didn't want to get out of bed at all. My dad had paid the house rent for a whole year recently. Otherwise, I would have been on the street by now. While thinking this, my eye caught the room. Sitting upright in bed, I looked around and couldn't believe my eyes. I wondered if I was dreaming, but I wasn't. My room was cleaner than it had ever been. I jumped out of bed and dashed to the living room, then to the kitchen. My house was sparkling clean. I immediately rushed over to the diary, but no matter what I did, I couldn't open it. I struggled for at least 2 hours. The cover of the diary was quite thick and had a relief of a symbol I couldn't understand. It seemed like the book only opened at my disposal. For the first time in my life, I was witnessing something like this. I was waiting for the diary to open itself, and at midnight, it finally did. On the next page, there was the same question asking how I felt today. I responded by writing, "I am excited." Seeing that I had another wish on the following page, I was very happy. While thinking about what to wish for, I wished for a bag full of money. Wasn't this what I needed the most? After writing down my wish, I closed the cover of the book. That night, I couldn't sleep and must have dozed off towards the morning. When I woke up, it was 11 a.m. I jumped out of bed and went to the living room but couldn't see a bag full of money anywhere. I sat down on the couch and took the diary in my hands again. It seemed like it was locked forever. As I was about to throw it against the wall, the doorbell rang. I thought it was one of my irresponsible friends again. When I opened the door, I saw no one, but there was a black bag left there. Just as I was about to complain about someone leaving their trash there, I wondered if this bag could be mine. I placed the bag on the floor and peeked inside. I couldn't believe my eyes. I took the bag and ran into the house, turning it upside down and pouring all the money in the middle of the room. I was going crazy with joy. There was even more money here than I had imagined. Now I could live the life I desired. I quickly put all the money back in the bag and hid it under my bed. After getting ready, I went out. I was eagerly waiting to come back home after a wonderful day to make my new wish come true before 12 a.m. I entered the house slightly drunk and threw myself on the couch. I looked at the clock. There was only 1 minute left until midnight. I leaned back, wishing for that 1 minute to pass quickly. A minute later, the cover of the diary opened by itself. It was asking how I was feeling today. I wrote, "Great," as the answer. Then it asked me for a new wish today. I took a deep breath, smiled and looked at the ceiling, unsure of what to wish for. Suddenly I remembered Layla, whom I had pursued for exactly 2 years, asked out many times, forgiven, but was rejected in a humiliating way. I wanted her. I was still obsessed with her. I wanted her to come crawling back to me. I immediately grabbed a pen and wished that Layla would literally become a dog following me. Yes, I wanted this very much. I wrote down my wish and closed the notebook. I didn't even have the energy to go to my bed that night. I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up to the sound of the doorbell in the morning. My head was splitting. I had definitely overdone it with the alcohol. I was having trouble coming to my senses. I struggled to get up and headed towards the door. When I opened it, I couldn't believe my wish had come true. I closed the door again and opened it. Layla was at the door, much more beautiful than before. When I asked her if she wanted to come in, she smiled, looking into my eyes, and entered without saying anything. I closed the door and asked her if she would ever come here. She said that she got my address from a friend. She had been looking for me for a long time but couldn't find me. She happened to see a mutual friend in a restaurant and asked for my number. She said that when she mentioned she urgently wanted to talk to me, she was given my number. However, despite calling many times, I didn't pick up. So, she had to find my address and come to my house. I asked what it was that she urgently wanted to discuss. She said that she couldn't get me out of her mind lately. I was entering her dreams some nights, so she wanted to come to me, hoping I would give her a chance. Despite rejecting my many offers to date her in the past, if the offer was still valid, she would happily accept it now. I confidently said, "Sorry, but I can't continue." Before Layla could ask anything, she came to me and kissed me on the lips. It was something I had been waiting for so long that it felt like a dream. I couldn't resist any longer and reciprocated. It was such a wonderful and indescribable feeling, I can't explain it. We spent a wonderful time together until the evening. Neither of us wanted to part from each other, but when she mentioned that she had to go home because it was night, I couldn't let her go. After a long time, my dream had come true, so I begged her to stay. After insisting for a while, she agreed to stay. I accepted it. While being with her, I didn't realize how the time passed. It was already past midnight. She had fallen asleep. I quickly dressed and went to the living room, sitting on the couch. It was time to fulfill my next wish. The notebook was waiting for me with its cover open, as always. First, as always, there was a question asking, "How do you feel today?" I replied, "Fabulous." On the next page, unlike the previous ones, it said, "You didn't follow my rules," it said. "Now it's your turn to follow the rules." Instead of a space to write my wish like in the previous pages, there was a question asking, "Are you ready to fulfill my wish?" When I opened the next page, it precisely said, "I want to see the blood flowing in your veins." Reading this, I swallowed hard. I couldn't understand. When I turned to the next page, it was blank. Previous pages had my wishes written on them, but the next pages were blank. Why hadn't I thought to check the later pages before? Perhaps I misunderstood. I read it again. It precisely said, "I want to see the blood flowing in your veins." I closed the notebook and went to my bed. This is nonsense, not the loving baby waiting for me in bed. I snuggled up to my sleeping girlfriend, inhaling her scent deeply. A strange noise woke me up in the night. At first, I couldn't figure out where the sound came from in my sleepy state. As I was trying to sleep again, Layla threw me to her arm and started speaking in a bad tone. She was possibly crying. When I asked Layla what happened, she pointed at the door saying someone was there. "Wake up!" She forcibly woke me up. I got up, turned on the room light. "It's just us here, you just had a bad dream. There is nothing to be afraid of," I said. I sat next to her trying to calm her down. When I asked if she wanted a glass of water, she said yes. I went to the kitchen and brought a glass of cold water. When I came back, I saw the room light was turned off. I entered the room and turned the light on again. Layla was asleep. I went close to her and looked closely. Yes, she was really asleep. My fetching water from the kitchen only took a few seconds. I wondered how she managed to fall asleep in that short time. I put the glass at her bedside and lay down next to her. When I woke up in the morning, Layla had left a small note. It said, "I have some work to do for a few hours. I will come back to you after I finish it." I got out of bed, went to the kitchen, snacked on something, and went to the bathroom. While taking a shower, I noticed that the bathroom was extremely hot. I felt like I was going to suffocate. I quickly took my shower and came to the door to get out, realizing that the door was jammed. It was really hot inside and the faucet opened on its own. Despite trying many times, I couldn't open the door. At one moment I saw, "I want to see the blood flowing in your veins," written on the mirror. Scared and confused, I shouted for help, but nobody could hear me here. When I turned back again, the mirror was shattered. If I took a single step, my foot would get shattered, my hand was cut. I threw myself into the living room, collapsing onto my knees and began to cry. The event I experienced inside was terrifying. I got dressed, wrapped my wounded hand, and took that book outside and threw it into a dumpster before coming back. When I came back inside, I couldn't believe my eyes. The book was on the small table in front of the couch. I was frustrated, taking the book outside again and threw it far away. When I came back inside, it was still there. It seemed there was no escape from it. I was seriously frustrated, not knowing what to do. While I was thinking about this, the door rang. When I opened the door, I saw Layla. As soon as she saw me, she hugged me. With her hug, all my troubles were gone. She asked what happened to my hand. I said, "It's just a small cut." "I want to see it," she said. She opened the bandage on my hand, and I couldn't believe my eyes. There was no cut on my hand. Layla looked at my face. "You said you had a cut?" she said. If I told her what happened now, she would call me crazy. That's why I said, "I pranked you because I was very curious about your reaction." That day, we had a great time with Layla again. We had fun and laughed. In the evening, Layla said, "I want to take a shower. Prepare some drinks until I get out." Suddenly, I remembered the shattered mirror in the bathroom. "You know what? The mirror in the bathroom is broken. I haven't cleaned it up. Wait. I will clean it up and then come back." "I don't want you to get cut," I said. She said, "Okay." When I came to the bathroom, I got another shock. The mirror wasn't broken. I couldn't believe my eyes. However, this was a reality. I left the bathroom, fighting not to go crazy. Layla entered the bathroom. Seeing that book still there was ruining my nerves. I took the book to the kitchen, turned on the stove. I tried to burn the pages of the book over the fire. The moment I did this, I heard Layla screaming. I dropped the book and ran to Layla. The bathroom door wouldn't open, it was jammed again. I asked Layla if she was okay. She was shouting, "I am burning, help!" I needed to find something to open the door. While I was frantically looking for something in the kitchen, I heard Layla's voice. I turned back and saw her standing in front of me, wrapped in a towel with wet hair, looking at me with strange eyes. He asked what I was looking for. I told him, "I was scared that something happened to you when you screamed in the bathroom. I tried to open the door but it was jammed." When I said that, he replied, "No, I didn't scream. In fact, I didn't even lock the door was open." Anyway, he asked if I prepared some drinks, and I said, Yes, I am preparing them now." We placed our drinks on the table. It was nice. He asked me to open a movie and said, "I am going to put on something comfortable. I will be right back." As he left, I felt my knees trembling. I leaned on the table and bowed my head down, feeling like I was losing my mind. I pulled the chair and sat down, trying to understand what was happening. Then I heard Layla's voice again, asking what I was doing here. When I lifted my head, she was standing at the kitchen door, wrapped in a robe with her wet hair. When I asked why she was still not dressed, she said she had just come out of the bath and would come back after putting on something comfortable. Now there was nothing I could do. I had to accept my fate. I should wait until midnight to see what was written in the notebook, I said. After getting some drinks, I went to the living room. Layla and I sat down and watched something. Later we moved to the bedroom. It was only a few minutes to 12 o'clock. However, I couldn't resist and fell asleep. When I opened my eyes, I rushed out of bed to the couch. The notebook was waiting for me open. I sat on the couch and looked at what was written there. It was asking, "How are you feeling today?" To the diary, I forcefully replied, "Terrible," and then saw that it instructed me to kill her, referring to Layla. I couldn't do this. I couldn't hurt her. As I thought about these, I heard Layla's voice. She asked why I was sitting here at this hour. I replied there was nothing, just had a bad dream and didn't want to disturb you. Let's go back to bed. We went back to bed. Layla fell asleep quickly. I couldn't sleep, wondering what I was going to do. What if it forces me again? What if it corners me again? I was muttering. Suddenly Layla woke up with a jolt and started screaming. I tried to calm her down, telling her that I was with her and she didn't need to be afraid. I just said it was a terrible dream, but I couldn't stop her. "You don't believe me, you are treating me like I am crazy. I want to leave this house," she said as she ran towards the door, her screams filling the house. Everyone would hear, so I had to hold her. When I touched her, she went crazy. I only covered her mouth to prevent her from screaming. I didn't intend to hurt her, but shortly she fainted in my arms. I tried to wake her up, but it didn't work. Suddenly, her body turned purple and I froze. I didn't know what to do. Her heartbeat had stopped. I was really scared. Being breathless for such a short time couldn't have killed her. No, I didn't do this, she didn't die because of me. I started crying. It was too late. Even if I wanted to call my friend and explain what happened, I immediately gave up this thought. I took Layla to the bathroom and closed the door. I couldn't sleep all night. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of Layla came before me. The happiness I experienced in these few days was too much for me. I didn't deserve this much happiness. It was all because of that diary. When I woke up in the morning, I had to find a way to destroy that diary. I don't know when I fell asleep at night. When I woke up, it was almost evening. I opened my eyes and looked around. I literally hated myself. I got up from the bed and went to the living room, picked up the diary, and while thinking about how to destroy it, I heard the voices. I stood up. It was Layla. She was preparing something to eat in the kitchen. She came and hugged me. "I have been trying to wake you up since morning. Why are you so lazy?" "Of course, if we watch movies until midnight this happens," she said and kissed my cheek and went back to the kitchen. I quickly went to the bathroom. I opened the door and looked. Layla wasn't there. So, she hadn't died? I was very happy. Suddenly it occurred to me, was everything I experienced last night just a dream? Whether it was a dream or reality, I didn't care. Layla was with me at the moment. Knowing that she was alive made me very happy and made me forget all my troubles. However, I didn't know what the diary would ask me to do tonight. What would happen this time? What could be the worst? I thought I had overcome the worst. I was eagerly waiting for midnight. While Layla was hanging out in the kitchen, I was waiting for the diary to open. A few minutes later, it was 12 o'clock and the diary had opened. It was asking how I was feeling today. I briefly wrote bad. When I turned the page, there was nothing, just an arrow symbol pointing to the left. I wondered if I missed something on the previous pages. I checked the pages one by one. There was nothing. I hadn't understood what he wanted until I stood up and turned to the left. There was a rope. It had been placed there for me to hang myself. I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to kill myself. Could there be anything beyond this? Was I going to commit suicide knowingly? No, I couldn't do this. While thinking I can't do it, suddenly it occurred to me that when I fulfilled what he asked from me before, in a short time he returned to his old state. I had cut my hand, and it disappeared in a short time. Even if I killed Layla unintentionally, Layla was still alive. I thought this would be like them too, without any hesitation, and because I wanted this game to end as soon as possible, I put a chair under my foot. Taking the rope between my hands, I put it around my neck and looked around. Suddenly Layla appeared in front of me, not asking what I was doing, not even trying to stop it, just watching. Suddenly, noises began to come, doors of the rooms were opening and closing violently. Pitch-black muds were flowing on the walls of the house. The notebook suddenly opened on its own and the pages began to turn themselves. The writings in it were being erased one by one. Layla's hair became longer and blacker than before, her arms extended almost to the ground, and she started to dance and have fun with the terrifying beings that appeared in a frightening manner. I tried to remove the rope from my neck, but the chair slipped from under my foot. No matter how much I struggled, I couldn't get free. all I had lived passed before my eyes like a film strip: Layla's terrifying moves, the strange beings in the house, and many other terrifying things. As I struggled on the rope, I realized I had made a mistake. I should never have brought that notebook home. For the sake of my foolish desires, now I was losing my life. Even this vagrant life had value in front of my eyes. I realized the value of my life while giving my last breath, but it was too late. At that moment I understood that I was going to pay with my life in return for my desires. All these experiences, this pleasure, this desire, this entertainment were all a dream. All of them had just come alive in my eyes. In fact, I was in a dream, but now this rope around my neck wasn't a dream. It was real. I was dying. When I opened my eyes, I was in a dark box. This place was very narrow and hot. I had difficulty breathing. I shouted and screamed, but no one heard me. Suddenly a pair of eyes appeared in the box. They were bright red and looked very terrifying. I could feel the bugs that were under my feet all over my body, on my hands, waist, neck, even some of them were entering my ears. I covered my mouth and nose with my hand. Those bugs were everywhere, biting me, hurting me. A foot grabbed my ankles and I felt like I was being dragged, but I was still in the box. My back was hurting a lot. I couldn't hold my breath anymore. When I screamed as much as I could, all those bugs went into my mouth and nose. In a short time, they took over my entire body. I could feel them inside. It was a very bad feeling. I don't know how long this pain lasted. A sound came to my ear. This sound was very familiar to me. Yes, it was the alarm sound. I struggled to wake up. Although it was difficult, I opened my eyes. I was in my bed. As soon as I woke up, I looked around, jumped out of bed and went to the living room, bathroom, and kitchen. There was no one else in the house but me, and my house was as messy and dirty as before. I quickly went next to the sofa and looked on that small table. The notebook was there. Suddenly, I remembered the money I had hidden under the bed. I rushed to my room and looked under the bed. I was met with a very bad smell. When I opened the black bag, instead of money, there was only garbage. I took the bag and left it in front of the door, and opened the windows to ventilate the house. I didn't want to approach that notebook again. I didn't want to open it and ruin my life again. After taking the notebook, I went out on the street and wandered until evening. When I returned home, I saw a girl and a man arguing very badly. The girl threatened the man, saying, "You will see, I will make you regret what you did." The man didn't care about what the girl said. He walked away from her without even looking back. I slowly approached the girl and extended the notebook to her. She looked at me. "It does not open before 12 at night. Take it home, you will see what happens then, it's for your own good," I said as I handed her the notebook and walked away. When I turned my back, the girl was stunned looking at the notebook. Obviously, the notebook had affected her. Just as I was about to get home, my friend called and said he had something very important to tell me. "Yes, I'm listening," I said when he mentioned Layla, the girl I had a crush on. "What happened to her?" I asked. "She got married. Her wedding was last week. I heard it this morning. I thought you knew," he said. I said no, I didn't know, and hung up the phone. I put the phone in my pocket, came to my house and threw myself on the couch. The notebook was no longer with me. I took a deep breath and thought about what had happened. I couldn't make sense of what I had fallen into, what I had experienced, but there was one thing I knew: I had escaped cheaply. The lesson I learned from this event was that sometimes if what we want does not happen, or if we cannot get what we want, or if we cannot go where we want, if the dreams we have pursued for a long time do not come true, of course, we really need to strive for it, we need to make an effort. Some things do not happen forcefully. This incident could have ended differently. I had fallen into a trap, something unpredictable, something terrible. Even now, thinking about it sent shivers down my spine. I was trying to make sense of everything that had happened, but it was like a never-ending nightmare. The boundaries between reality and dream were so intertwined that I couldn't tell which was which. This was a lesson, a hard, painful lesson, but a necessary one. I learned the hard way that not everything we desire can be acquired, and that sometimes what seems to be a blessing can turn into a curse, a terrifying, life-threatening curse. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had escaped something horrible, something that could have ended much worse. I could really have been in that grave, unable to ever get out. Layla could have truly died right there. What would have become of my life? From that day on, I understood the value of my life better. I made an effort to get a proper job and tried to bring some order to my life. And I succeeded. My home was no longer as messy as before, and I met a new girl. Everything is progressing well. I hope that the girl I gave the notebook to asked for something in return from the notebook that she could handle. Maybe she set it aside without using it at all. I hope that's what happened. That's the end of the story, friends. Thank you for listening. I love you all very much. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, you can subscribe and turn on notifications to be informed about upcoming new videos. See you in the new videos. Take care.